right. Good morning, good afternoon. Wrapping up our Fast Friday routine as we head full bore into opponent work. Coming off a really big practice on Wednesday where we worked all kinds of situational football, both against ourselves, good on good, as well as Stanford. Yesterday was our mental sweat day, and today is our Fast Friday where we're playing football. We're doing it in spiders. Tomorrow we're back in pads again. Not only are we simulating a game, but we're also getting good on good work against each other, ones-on-ones, twos-on-twos. Just trying to gain as many reps as we can, at the same time preparing for the game next Saturday. So with that being said, open to questions.
First question will go to Ryan Thorburn of the Register Guard.
Hey, Mario, who's your starting quarterback?
I don't know what I'm more shocked at, that question or the fact that you actually beat James Crepea to the first question. I mean, it's just incredible. So, we're working ourselves through that, and at the right moment, guys, respectfully, we'll make that announcement.
Next question, Kevin Wade, 247 Sports.
Coach, as you lost the practices, what's your process for moving into game week prep? And how did those two lost practices factor into your original plan?
We just changed the format of the seating to what we did was, since we had a scrimmage planned and we couldn't go through with the scrimmage, we used the situational scrimmage stuff and moved it right into Tuesday and Wednesday. And those were, Wednesday and the rest of the week. And it's been about, I would say 80 to 90% of the play count that we would have had. We pulled back on some of the group, some of the unit, and some of the individual time to make it work so that the rep count didn't change drastically. But we did get live work, and we got good on good work, and then we started moving into work against Stanford. So, it was a little bit of a juggling act, but overall, the players did a great job handling it. I think sudden change is part of the season as it relates not only to the field, but relates to scheduling and things that are unforeseen that you're going to have to deal with. And this was one of them. And I'm glad part of me is glad that we had the opportunity to deal with a situation that didn't have any consequences and yet prepared us for what the reality of the world is right now.
Tyson Alger, The Athletic.
How's Cam McCormick's camp been, and how, just basically health-wise, how do you envision him fitting in with you guys this season?
Yeah, we've taken it slow with Cam, knowing what he's been through a lot. Great football player, and he brings a lot to the table. So I think we're close to the point where Cam's going to be ready to go. We just, when you've been through as much as he has, we do take it just a little bit slower and just making sure that he is right. So, he's such a valuable member of this organization as a person, as a player. So looking forward to the big things from Cam.
Julian Minenson, KZI.
Mario, where are you guys at physically at this point in fall camp compared to last year, especially given the quicker ramp up that you guys had to this fall camp on the verge of game week now?
Sure. Well, I don't think you can compare the two, quite honestly. When you look at last year's camp, you have 6 to 8 weeks of strength and conditioning leading up to what equates to probably 5.5 weeks of work with camp work, I should say, along with 2.5 scrimmages, probably 8 to 12 player-led practices. It's a very different operation and a very different process. Where are we in terms of how we feel about our schemes and how our players have taken ownership of them? Not far, pretty close to being there. In terms of where we are from a conditioning standpoint, I think we're also close to being exactly where we need to be come game time. And a year ago, man, that's so – you're asking me to remember a year ago. I think I hardly remember a day and a half ago. So, but there's a difference in preparation. I don't feel like that there's much of a difference in where we are now as we would have been at this point in camp last year.
At Preem, 247 Sports.
Yeah, Mario, you always talk about depth and building dependable depth. where are you guys at right now? How deep is this team going into game week prep?
Well, it depends on what position, we're talking about. I feel like the running back position has built not only depth, but more than quality depth. These guys they all have a role, and they're all going to play. They're really good football players. I think the big question everyone had was, with the amount of attrition at the offensive line, where would it be? And I think we're at 8, approaching 9, and goal 10 players that can play winning football and win a championship for us. And we're getting there fast. Those guys at Coach Mirabal have done a great job. And as I look across, I think we're right on the verge. By the end of tomorrow, we should have a legitimate 2 to 2.5 deep at our positions. Some obviously are probably a little bit, I would say, more seasoned than others. But overall, we feel like we are on the cusp of having a legitimate 2 to 2.5 deep across the board.
James Capria, the Oregonian.
Mario, regardless of who ends up winning the quarterback job, just what is the plan in terms of the distribution of reps once practice gets into game prep next week? And then what is the practice plan for next week since Tuesday's off? Are you then on Monday, you're just reversing the days, or what's the plan with Tuesday off?
Yeah, we would just reverse the days is what it'll be. So that's why, these past couple of days have been critical, as well as tomorrow. Tomorrow there's a line you got to walk tomorrow, because even though you want to take the pads off Sunday, you're back at it Monday. And then you're back at it Wednesday. You want to play football. We're going to keep our physicality and do what we do with block destruction and everything else. But at the same time, we're going to be very mindful of that we just don't stray from our processes. It's just different days, so that'll work out. In terms of the rep count will be what it always will be for us in terms of the game week and the quarterbacks handling it. And that being said, a big part of that is even going into this final week, we feel that both these quarterbacks are going to be prepared to play and play winning football for us.
AJ Jacobson, Rivals.
Coach, I asked you this a couple of weeks ago, but you guys have played a lot of football since then in practice. Who's been standing out this second half of fall camp for you heading into Stanford week?
It's a good chunk of guys now. It's a good chunk. We mentioned a lot of guys last time. A guy that really popped on film this week was Christian Williams. I think him. I think Keon, Dorless. I think those 3 guys just continue to really just pop. About the older guys. About Jordan. About Austin. They pop. I can't mention enough. I don't want Austin to get jealous now, because I'm giving Andrew all the love. But the Falu brothers have been outstanding, as well as Jordan Scott. Just that front has really turned it on. Seeing a lot of positive stuff from guys like Adrian Jackson, and we got to continue working with him to take that next step, because he could be an unbelievable contributor to the program. Got to take that next step and got to have consistency. And gosh, there's been some guys, I can't say enough about George Moore and the camps he's had. George is really just taking it upon himself to be accountable on a play-by-play basis. Jalen Smith has done a great job playing offensive line for us and is going to be a contributor to us this year. Man, I've mentioned the receivers, I think. I mentioned Patrick Herbert has done a really good job as well. About Camp and Cam and about Spencer. But this is now, Patrick's year as well. I think he's stood out. So, I'm going to end up mentioning the whole roster and kind of go in circles here. So I feel good about our camp. I feel good about the way our guys are developing. I feel better about the part that none of them, at least by the way that we approach it, none of them feel like they've arrived, and that we have a lot to prove. We are, in essence, I believe, the youngest team in America from a roster standpoint, if you count up our underclassmen. And so when you have that, you can't take a second for granted, and you can never take your foot off the gas. You've got to keep culture on 24/7, and you got to roll.
Paul Danzer, Portland Tribune.
Hi, Coach. I'm wanting to hear a bit more about Alex Forsythe and his development. You mentioned him a bit last week, but what steps did he have to take to really get prepared for being a center?
Well, I got to be honest with you. That's one of the toughest jobs that there is. You go from playing without the ball in your hand and now having the responsibility of making sure that thing is on point on every single play. And it's for those that know, and you know Alex as a person, as a competitor, this guy is, he's exactly what you want. He fits exactly what we look for in this program. There's a guy, I've been making fun of him for years. He walks around with a gallon of water like Ray Lewis does, man, always hydrating, doing the little things right. And he just, I guess the best way to put it, he just grinds himself into being great. It's not like he just earns everything. And honestly, he wouldn't want it any other way. He just wants to grind and get better and push those around them and hold people to a high standard. He's a guy that, you turn the corner in the office because you're going to go grab some coffee or something. He's rounding up the offensive lineman. They're getting some extra film work because he's doing it on his own. He's proactive about it. He lives a purpose-driven life, and he is driven to be a great football player and a great leader for our team this year.
Warren Williamson, Oregon Duck Football News.
Mario, you mentioned a few minutes ago about your team being close as we head into game week here. What are some of those things that you'd like to see improvement on next week as you get closer to kickoff? And I'm just wondering also what the mood is with the team. Are they ready to strap it up and go?
Yeah, they are. They've been for a while. But I think you're always going to look for a more polished execution, right? You want to make sure your eye discipline, your technique, your fundamentals, your pad level, all those things are things that show up early in football games. Well, we've had the benefit of watching other teams. So that should that should stoke your fire a little bit more and let you know that, hey, we can't afford to walk into this and make a game one. We got to practice and prepare in a way and in a fashion that's going to make this feel like game 3 or 4. So those are the kind of results we're looking for in terms of the technique and the fundamentals, the level of execution, the communication, all those things. You can't separate those things. They all go hand in hand to play the kind of football that we're used to here, to play penalty free, right? Which comes with technique and discipline and effort to finish plays, which is going to be the ultimate difference, right? Who can actually finish their plays? Because that's what we're looking for on film. We're looking on film for guys that are being on point with their assignments and tied into technique and fundamentals, and that can finish that play. And whether it's good or bad, they can put it aside and move on to the next one, right? Because that's the key to the drill, the next play. So all those things.
Ryan Thorburn, Register Guard.
Mario, when you look at what's happened at Wisconsin and Clemson, particularly at quarterback, do you kind of tell Tyler and Anthony not to hang out off the field, and how do you kind of separate rooms so if something happens, not everyone is lost in a particular position?
Sure. No, we strategically do our best to room guys in a fashion, but it is mathematically it is impossible to make it perfect. But you really try to mitigate the risk if something does happen where you have multiple guys at a position being knocked out of competition. So, when I think Coach Mirabal put it best the other day when talking about this is guys that if you opted into this season, you opted to be all in. That means you opted in to give up Halloween. That means you opted in to have your mask on all the time and not putting anybody at risk around you to the best of your ability, right? If something outside of that happens, it happens and you deal with it. But certainly never getting careless and putting the team first, because if you're not willing to do that, you're willing to give away an opportunity to play for a championship and have a great season. So credit to everyone involved in the organization for the steps that we have taken. But when I say that we emphasize and enforce and just hammer protocol 24/7, it might be the understatement of the year. We believe in that, and so far the results have been good. But all that means is that we have to elevate the standard even more.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Across college football this year, we've seen quarterbacks go down, like Ryan alluded to. We've seen also other programs play multiple quarterbacks in a game just to get reps for guys. Do you plan on doing that, and do you plan on doing that at other positions too? Just finding ways to get guys some experience if need be.
No, there's always talk of that, but it boils down to this: is we're going to put together a plan for playing time that relates to who's earned it and who could help us win. It comes down to as simple as that. I think sometimes, I do believe sometimes as coaches, you make the mistake to force playing time that hasn't been earned, deserved, or that someone is ready for. And other times you go the opposite way. You hold back for too long instead of giving someone an opportunity. So we're working hard to just diligently assess, evaluate film, demeanor and practice, consistency and performance, pride in performance, so that we can do that, because it really benefits you in so many different ways to continue to get your team to be deeper at positions where you need quality depth and quality play. So that's always on the table. I think you will see a lot of guys play this year, but if you look at us just traditionally, we play a lot of guys. You know, you look at how many freshmen we played the past couple, we play a lot of guys. So is it going to be more this year? I'm not sure yet, but we'll play a lot of guys.
James Crapia, the Oregonian.
Mario, a couple of personnel bits. We were hearing something on Spencer Webb, if you could just clarify his health status at the moment. And with Robby Ashford, obviously, since he's also balancing baseball, I know he's not doing it right now, but just what the plan is. We talked to Waz about that a little bit. Obviously, he said he's dedicated to football at the moment, but just what the plan is with Robby in general with balancing that.
Yeah, Spence has been practicing. He got a little bit banged up, so we've held him out a few days, but we don't expect him to miss a significant amount of time. Always evaluate guys day to day. And then in terms of Robby's doing a great job. I mean, right now the focus is solely on football and has to be on football. And when you sign an athlete like that, you always have to have a prior agreement so that there isn't a later misunderstanding. And, those bridges, we cross them when we get to them. But as of right now, it's all about football.
Tyson Alger, The Athletic.
In normal situations, Friday and Saturday nights of game weeks or Fridays and Saturdays for you guys are such a routine-based thing. With your walkthroughs and stuff you're doing to prep now, like how are you guys kind of prepare? Essentially, what's your Saturday mornings going to look like under these conditions?
Oh, that is a great question. The biggest difference, the way the meeting rooms are spaced out, you could only have a certain amount of guys in rooms, and you're always masked up. That's something we don't break. I have a mask off for this portion, and guys are very, very far away, and then it's back on. But we don't eat in the building, and when we do our pregame stuff, all that is being assessed, and the medical group will tell us exactly what and how you can do that. Our walkthroughs don't change because we are masked up. The process themselves, besides that, the use of the building will be very different because you spread it a little bit more. But mind you, we do antigen tests and PCR tests on, the day before the game and the day of the game as well. So there'll be some differences, but it won't be totally different. And we're doing everything we can to get our guys accustomed to the changes that we have.
We got time for a couple of more. Let's go to Brandon Gibson from Rivals.
Heading into game week, do you have a biggest surprise and biggest concern from going through fall camp so far?
We got some good surprises. I don't, maybe because I just focus on being forward thinking and about finding best solutions to any issues that we may have. I don't feel like we have a concern, like there's an issue where it's like, hey man, we have to cover something up, like a hole at a certain position. I don't feel like that. I've been lucky enough for a few years not to be in a situation because that's a tough deal, but I don't. The surprises, at just how quickly these quarterbacks have just picked up this offense and have really excelled in it. I think that's something that has really impressed and has got everybody enthused. I do feel that I guess one of the better surprises would be that even though we have a smaller group of upperclassmen, that that leadership is starting to come on, and that the leadership from them, like the true hard-nosed, educational, hold others accountable, inspire, support others, bring positive energy to the table. Every single day, you're seeing that just grow more and more, and that being demanded of each other. So those are the things that really stand out, the intangibles, right? The intangibles that are so important at this time as you're trying to galvanize your squad. Those are the things I feel like really strongly confident about.
Last question, Kevin Wade, 247 Sports.
Hey, Coach. Mastro yesterday spoke about CJ and Cyrus and how they've taken their games to the next level. What has caused them to do that this offseason? And then Mastro also talked about Cyrus earning the right to start. How are you guys balancing having multiple caliber guys that could start?
You play them all because they've earned it, they deserve it, and they all make us better, and they're all different. And then the biggest credit goes to the players in that room and also to Coach Mastro, because I think we've all seen and some of us have been in rooms where you have egos get in the way, especially when everybody wants the ball, right? There's one ball, multiple players. That group, every time somebody has success, they are so happy for each other. I mean, they are the first to run down the field and celebrate and congratulate those guys when they make a big play in practice or in a game. We've made a cut up of it where you see those guys, they're like, I mean, they just, boom, just running as fast as they can down the field to celebrate with those guys. And that's contagious. So tremendous amount of appreciation for those guys.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Stay safe. Go Ducks.